Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first edition of the Match Notes podcast. I'm your host, Faiz, and hopefully, if I'm committed, this is the first episode of many highlighting football around the continent of Europe and sometimes even beyond. This week, we have our EPL Roundup, a week where City are embroiled in controversy over financial fair play and their financial dealings. Leeds sack Jesse Marsch, and Harry Kane breaks the Tottenham goal record, overtaking Jimmy Greaves. We're also looking. We will also be looking ahead. Can't get my words out today. To the coming fixtures this week and what the table looks like. So first we begin with Man City in trouble. So the big news of the Premier League this weekend, or the past week, is that Man City have been charged with 100 breaches of financial fair play over a 4-year investigation by the Premier League. The club has been referred to an independent commission to overcome this. So the Premier League have found, or believe, should I say, that Man City have breached these 100 breaches in the financial fair play rules. And City are also accused of not cooperating in the investigation, which started all the way back in December 2018. Since these accusations have come to light, City have released a statement saying that they have irrefutable evidence against the claim and will look to resolve the issue as soon as possible. And the main gossip that we're hearing from this story is online that there's possibly massive consequences. So this includes fines, points deductions, relegation, and even stripping of titles, which they currently have 6. So as for fines, I personally believe that whatever money they'll ask for City, whether it be 50 million, 100 million pounds, City will have no problem paying it. They're backed by the royal family of the UAE. They have money leaking out their pockets. So I don't think, although they may ask for a fine, I don't think the Premier League will fine Man City. Points deduction is probably the most likely consequence of this whole fiasco, considering what's happened to Juventus. They've been given a points deduction, although they could be facing relegation after further investigation. City will probably be relegated points, whether that's 15 like Juventus this season or more, then we don't know. But as it stands, if it is 15 points, then City could be dropping into almost out of the European places, which gives them a lot of work to do to try and get even, say, Europa League. But with how close the Premier League's being, they could get Champions League. But again, who knows what's going to happen. As for relegation, that's a very big statement. If the Premier League want to make a statement in the sense that, okay, you've broken these rules, we are not going to have it, you go straight to the Championship, it's a big statement. Of course, they could bounce back up as Juventus did, and maybe the effects of their wealth will be decreased, less investment, who knows. But relegation is a possibility. Now, however, the Championship and the Football League aren't obliged to necessarily accept Man City into the league. So if they don't accept City, then they're going to be thrown all the way down to non-league in the Vanarama National, maybe North even, if it gets really bad. Well, let's face it, the best football is played. But yeah, relegation is sounds extreme, but it may well be a possibility. We never know. And stripping of titles, that just sounds ridiculous to me. You cannot go back and change what's happened over the past few years. City have had success. Okay, they may have breached financial rules, but however, City have won those games with players that they've trained, tactics they've implemented with Guardiola, Mancini, everyone. So if they do have these title strip, which I hope not only because I'm a City fan, but because I just don't think it's good look for the sport, is 3 would go to Liverpool and 3 would go to Man United. So that would really blow everyone's whole perspective of what the last 6 City titles have been for the rest of the top 6. Liverpool would have won double the amount of titles they already have now, and Man United would extend their title trophy cabinet, even though we really say that they're not back yet. Okay, so what rules have City broken? So there's been four main rules that they've broken. So the first one being from the 2009-10 season to the 2017-2018 season, where they were charged with inaccurate financial information about revenue and the costs provided. So what the Premier League are saying that there's inflated revenue from player deals and there's deflated costs, meaning there's more money coming in and less money coming out, which means they're making a massive profit. And they believe that the club has been channeling money in through commercial revenues instead of where they're supposed to be. The second rule is also from 2009 to the 2010 season to the 2012-13 season, where manager wage numeration was not recorded or sent to the Premier League. So I believe Pellegrini was in charge of City at this point, and I assume they renegotiated wages or gave him a bonus, which they didn't report to the Premier League. Which people can say whether it was genuine giving him a bonus or maybe dirty money. Who knows? I mean, the investigation will obviously continue and shed everything to light. So between 2013-14 and the 2017-18 season, the famous City failing UEFA FFP rules, that also has Premier League consequences. However, with the UEFA FFP, City were able to take UEFA to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. However, with the Premier League, they cannot do that, so they won't be able to bail themselves out. And from December 2018 until now, they have not provided data and documents to the investigation and have delayed these documents and are refusing to cooperate according to the Premier League. So if we see that there's 100 breaches in FFP, these lawyers that City are going to hire are going to have to provide 100 defenses to these allegations. So this is going to take a long time. This is going to be a war, forget a battle. So we won't get a clear-cut answer for a while. And recently I was scrolling through Instagram. I don't know how reliable this is, but City have hired the lawyer that Boris Johnson had during Partygate, when he had a party in the middle of COVID, when we were all just dying inside. So yeah, I mean, they seem serious about it. That's 100 breaches of rules they've been accused of. It's not a small matter to deal with. It's big. This could have massive consequences even this season. So who knows what happens? I mean, as a City fan, I personally hope that they're guilty. They're not guilty. Sorry. If they are guilty, then they've cheated. They should be. They should be punished in some sort of way. So moving away from that negativity to possibly more negativity. Not if you're a Leeds United fan though, as Jesse Marsch has been sacked from the club. So it's been a 7-game winless run for Leeds under Marsch, where they lost just recently to 1-0 to Nottingham Forest, where I have to praise Forest for their actual performance. It's been great. So there's been two candidates that have been thrown around for the Leeds job. One is Baggy's manager, Carlos Corberan. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm sorry if I'm not. So he worked at Leeds before Bielsa, where he was coaching one of the youth teams, and he also worked under Bielsa. And in 2020, he left Leeds to go manage Huddersfield, where miraculously he guided them off to the playoff final, only losing to Nottingham Forest. And after that season, he decided to go to Olympiacos, the big guns in the Greek league, but he left after 11 games and it didn't go well. And since he was hired by West Brom, he's lifted them from 23rd in the championship table to the playoff places, which is crazy. Championship, I'll say it now, is one of the best underrated leagues in the world. The gaps in the championship are so marginal, and it's testament to how Corberan can come in and have such an impact where West Brom can go from the relegation zone up into the playoff places, and who knows, maybe they could win the league if maybe Burnley calm down a bit, which I don't see happening under Vinny Comp. But yeah, Leeds could get Corberan. Is he a good signing? Yes, I think he's been at Leeds before. He knows the club culture, he knows the fans, he's comfortable with the board. It's just a matter of allowing him to sort of play his tactical style. And the other one, who's really interesting, I really like this new mention for the manager, and it's Adoni Iraola. He's the Rayo Vallecano boss. So if you've followed Spanish football for a while, you know Rayo are very much a yo-yo team. When they stay in the top division, it's in La Liga. It's mainly bottom half of the table. But since Adoni Iraola has taken charge, they sit in fifth, 3 points behind the mighty Atletico Madrid. So they're in European spots. They could compete for a Champions League spot if their form carries on. And this is amazing. The way Iraola's just come in, having them playing high intensity football, it's clearly paying off. So he's also worked under Bielsa as a player at Atletico Bilbao, and he's admired by lead sporting director Victor Orta. I would like to see Adoni Raula get a big job, but at the same time, I want to see the underdog story at Vallecano go ahead. I think if he leaves, then they're in a bit of trouble. So, and I don't think Rayo would want to let him go anyway. If Leeds do come knocking, they're probably going to want a massive compensation fee. So those are the two main candidates. I personally think Corberan should get the job. There's also other names being mentioned, like Poch and Bielsa. I personally don't think Poch is going to go to Leeds. I just can't see that happening. And why would you go with Bielsa when you've already been there, done that? It didn't work out. So just move on. So yeah, I think Corberan should be the next Leeds manager. They have publicly announced that they plan to announce their new manager on Sunday. So the Sunday is their game. If I'm not mistaken, they play Man United the second time, which will come on to later on. So he could be in, or the new manager could be in soon. So Jesse Marsch's career at Leeds hasn't really been amazing, with only 8 wins from 32 games, which is a 25% win rate. And he's not won a Premier League since November, which was 4-3 against Bournemouth. And since then, he's only won 2 games since. And that was in the FA Cup against Cardiff, who are a championship. Even then, they had to go through a replay. And Accrington Stanley, who are in League One, are in a relegation battle. And Leeds performed well, I'd say, but that's expected against the club in the third tier of English football. So the next few games are Man United twice, Everton, Southampton, the FA Cup against either Fulham or Sunderland, which will be decided on the recording date tonight, and Chelsea. So if you look there, you've got 3 top 6 clubs, which will be amazing if the new manager can get a point. But Everton, Southampton, those 2 matches are relegation 6 pointers. Those 2 matches could really decide Leeds' future, whether they stay up like they did last season on the last day, or if they eventually get relegated. Which I don't want to see such a successful club in the past be relegated again. And in terms of the FA Cup, I don't think they will win it. They can go farther and get more money, but what's the point? You're better off just focusing on your relegation scrap. So, and they've spent £120 million on talents such as Maximilian Wöber from RB Salzburg. Sorry, too many Red Bull clubs these days. Geronimo Rudiger, who's their record signing, and Rasmus Christensen. And although they have such talented players, and they can really should stay up. If you see the level of talent that they've signed, these players should be playing in the Premier League constantly, or even in Europe, some of them. And recently, Bamford did publicly come out and criticize Marsch tactics. So whoever comes in, they need to play football that can allow all the different parts of the squad to come together. Because I don't know what the dressing room situation's like in Leeds, but if he needs fixing, then the manager's got a big job on their hands, and good luck to them. So I guess on Sunday we should find out who's the new Leeds manager. Okay, so just moving quickly on, just wanted to mention a story coming out of Turkey. As we all know, Turkey and Syria and parts of Lebanon and Palestine have been badly affected by a 7.9 magnitude earthquake. And many people were quick to point out that Hatayspor player and former Newcastle star Christian Atsu, who had gone missing, well, thankfully he's been pulled out from the rubble and just has a few injuries, but he's safe. The situation in Turkey is very dire, with many players playing in the Turkish league, such as Enner Valencia, who plays for Fenerbahce, contributing to the cause. So our prayers are with the people of Turkey and the surrounding countries who have been affected at this time, and we pray Atsu has a quick recovery. So now we're going to move on to some transfer gossip. So there's been a few transfer bits and pieces coming out in the past few days, even though we have just come out of a transfer window. The Premier League never fails to talk about transfers, I guess, with many of them being targeted at Man United. However, Man City superstar Bernardo Silva is open to leaving in the summer, which I think will be a big loss to City. However, PSG and Barcelona are looking to sign him. And I think that's great for both clubs. He's such a versatile player. He can play on in so many different positions. He's just so talented. He has an instant impact in many games. So PSG already have a stacked squad, and Barcelona may be just looking for that extra bit of quality in their side to help both teams. Barcelona are in the title push, and they've left Real Madrid in the dust. And PSG are they're not struggling in the league. They should be ahead by a larger margin, but they really have it all to do in the Champions League against Bayern Munich. So I think for next season, Bernardo Silva would be a great signing for either of them, just to level up the squad even more. And now coming on to Manchester United, Anthony Martial, Harry Maguire, and Alex Telles are looking to be sold by Man United in the summer to make way for either Kane or Osimhen, Victor Osimhen of Napoli. But Tottenham are not willing to sell Kane, and I don't think they should. If they want, they should keep their best player, because apart from that, they'll probably just collapse. But Victor Osimhen would be interesting, considering if I hope Napoli win the Serie A, and he would be a Serie A winner. And whether United can make it into Champions League, which I think they should, or not, we can really break or make this rumor. And United are also eyeing Yannick Carrasco and Declan Rice for the summer, which I think Carrasco would be a great experience signing, and Declan Rice is the superstar that almost all clubs have been talking about, but mainly United and Chelsea. But West Ham value him at £120 million, so I don't think they will be wanting to pay that money, especially with the Glazers looking to sell the club. And rumor has it that Sir Jim Ratcliffe may be open to buying the club. So now we come on to our next segment, which is Play in the Statlight, where I'm going to highlight a player every week from whatever league we're talking about and talk to them about their stats and how they've been performing. And this week we're talking about the one and only Erling Haaland. He's had an amazing season from now. It's 25 goals in 20 games in the Premier League, which is crazy. He's already broken the not the world record, excuse me, the Golden Boot from last year in the Premier League. So he's on fire. Yes, he has been inconsistent when it comes to the bigger clubs, but he's making it count when it's against the mid-table and the lower table teams. Well, he's already got hat tricks as well. Let's not forget his performance against United in the first half of the season, where they won 6-3. He's just on fire. However, he has been putting a spanner in City's works compared to last season, where they were playing with a false nine, and now they have to play with a Haaland, who they're playing with us similar to a target forward. Has it made City worse? That's up for debate, but I think he has been a good signing. 25 goals in 20 games is just mind-boggling stats. So he's had 6.72 touches in the attacker's box per 90, which puts him in the 93rd percentile of strikers in the world. He's outperforming his expected goals by 8.1. He has 3.53 shots per 90, which puts him in the 88th percentile. And he has 51.4% of shots are on target out of 70 shots. And he also has 2.04 scoring chances per 90. These are amazing stats. So Haaland is probably on course to win the Golden Boot this year. I don't know if, possibly Kane could catch up to him, even if Mitrovic decides to go on some sort of goal fest, then it's all up for grabs. But I think at the moment, I think Haaland should get the Golden Boot. Player of the Year, I don't know. We still have a long season ahead. Maybe one of an Arsenal player could win that. But he's having a good season. if he can help City just maintain their top four status, and if he can help City claw back points against Arsenal, which they have two crucial games coming up against Arsenal in February, then that could make or break the season whether he wins a title at his first year at City. So let's see. And yeah. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the predictions for the coming week for the Premier League. So as it stands, Arsenal. We'll look at the tables. Sorry, we'll look at the table. Arsenal are currently in first with 50 points. City in, but they have a game in hand over City in second, who have 45 points. 3 points behind them is United, and in fourth place sit Newcastle on 40 points. Fifth place is Tottenham, 1 point behind Newcastle, although Newcastle have games in hand. And then in sixth, we have one of the underdogs stories, one of the best performers this season, Brighton, who have 2 games in hand over Tottenham and are only 5 points behind, meaning if they win those 2 games, they're looking at being in fifth and possibly looking at Champions League football. Who knows what can happen? And in seventh, again, one of the greatest underdog stories, Brentford, with 33 points. And behind them, again, amazing performances by Fulham to have them in eighth, where they're probably contesting for that Conference League spot. I don't think they can make the Europa League spot, but Conference League, if they put their mind to it, is definitely possible. And that also depends on the two teams behind them, Chelsea and Liverpool, on 30 and 29 points respectively in ninth and 10th. They are having shocking seasons. I mean, Graham Potter just can't get the squad to play together in the way that he likes to. I don't know whether it's just too many new signings, too many players to choose from. And Liverpool just look really unlike the Liverpool of recent times. Klopp's heavy metal football seems to have taken a toll on the Liverpool players, and they have decent performances every now and then, but you can't be losing 3-0 to Wolves who are in a relegation battle. So, I mean, Liverpool, they could have a second half of the season resurgence. I hope for their sake they do. And yeah, that rounds out the top 10. And then 11th, we have Aston Villa. 12th, Crystal Palace. 13th, the high and mighty Nottingham Forest. 14th, we have Leicester. 15th, Wolves. 16th, West Ham, who are really struggling at the moment. 17th, Leeds, who we just mentioned about. 18th, Everton on 18 points, just in the relegation zone on goal difference. We obviously saw their win against Arsenal. Dyche at the wheel. So who knows? I hope they stay up. 19th, Bournemouth, and 20th is Southampton. So as it stands, Leeds is probably the only relegation threatened team that has a game in hand, and Everton in 18 on 18 points, up to Leicester in 14 points. There's 3 points between them, and a further 6 to Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest. So anyone could go down, really. It just depends on how the season uh, comes out as a whole, to be honest. I think it's definitely going to be exciting on both ends of the table. It's definitely worth watching. You have a title fight, and City and even possibly United chasing down Arsenal. You've got the battle for European spots. You've got fallen giants such as Chelsea and Liverpool trying to regain their European statuses, and you have a absolute mega relegation battle where even the bottom 9 could potentially be at threat of relegation. So, in my opinion, this is probably one of the best Premier Leagues we have had in a while. So, long may it continue, and I'm here for all the drama. So now looking ahead to the fixtures in the coming weeks. In the coming week, sorry. Don't want to look too far ahead. So Man United are to play Leeds tonight on the recording date. I think Man United, they've been in form. Yes, they looked like they were going to have a blip against Palace, but I honestly think they can do well. They're playing at home. They're always great at home, and it's against Leeds, who may have a new lease of life in the changing room. Who knows? I believe the two coaches have become co-caretaker managers. That was a bit of a mouthful. So who knows? Leeds. I still expect United to win, but Leeds, they might pull a surprise. Next is West Ham Chelsea. This is a tough one. I'd personally go for a West Ham win. Chelsea haven't really been scoring. They've only scored 2 goals in their last 5 games. And West Ham, they've scored they've scored more, but not as many. 5 in the last 5. And this game could go either way, but I think West Ham would take the win at home. Then we have Arsenal Brentford, an amazing clash where you see top of the table go against in 7th Brentford. And Brentford are topping the form table coming into this game week. Within the past 5 game weeks, they've picked up 13 points, which are 4 wins and 1 draw. And they're doing amazing. And Arsenal are coming in with 10 points. So this is going to be a real pound for pound battle. And I think it's going to end in a 1-1 draw. Next, we have Brighton versus Crystal Palace. I see easy Brighton 3-0 win. Palace did have their moments against United, but they just aren't able to capitalise in the final third. So I'm definitely going for what do you call them? De Zerbi and Brighton. Sorry for that battle. Next, we have Fulham versus Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest have been doing a mad one since the new year, and they're currently second in the form table on 11 points. Fulham have had a mediocre but good in their standards January. I think this will be a close game. It could be 2-2. The Forest may take clinch a late winner. But yeah, that's a match to look out for. Then we have Leicester Tottenham. I think Tottenham should win this. Leicester haven't really been great these past month. Yeah, they've scraped a win. But I think Tottenham, after beating City, after potentially going after Newcastle for the Champions League spots, I think they should win 1-0. Then we have Wolves versus Southampton, another relegation battle. I'd say Wolves should take this. The 3-0 performance against Liverpool was amazing. They should replicate the same here at St Mary's. Then we have Newcastle travel to Bournemouth, and I think this is a 3-1 win for the Toons. I mean, they're in top 4. They're having the season of their life. I mean, long may it continue. Then we have Man United versus Leeds again. By then, they probably hopefully chosen their new manager, and I think they'll have the Deitch effect. I think they'll win 1-0 away, no, at home, sorry, to United. I think the manager's going to come in, he's going to make a few changes, and I think that'll inspire the players and the fans to get behind them in a crucial game for survival. Next, we have City versus Aston Villa. City didn't play necessarily well against Tottenham. Losing against United's just they don't look the same. Whether it's a dressing room situation or I think Pep's just trying too many things, I'm not sure. They should win 2-1, but I won't be surprised if Villa scrape out a draw. Unai Emery's not done bad, but he's not done horrible. Not done amazing, sorry. He's not done bad, not done horrible. There's the same thing. He's not done amazing, but he's not done horrendous. So I think, look, 10 points in the last 5 games, actually looking at the form table, they've not been doing bad. They're above City in the form table. They could scrape out a draw. And last but not least, probably the match to watch out for, the mighty Sean Dyche going up against Jurgen Klopp in the Merseyside derby. If you asked me about this fixture last year, I'd say Liverpool win easy 3-0, give them 3 points. But this season, I don't know, maybe Liverpool's just changed. And it looks like Everton really have a fighting chance to take at least 1 point away at Anfield. So yeah, those are my predictions, and that pretty much rounds up our first podcast. I've really enjoyed recording this, and I hope you have enjoyed too. Please share this with people you know. Let's spread this community. Um, this is when you listen to this, it'll be up on YouTube. I hope to get this podcast if we carry it on Spotify and Google Podcasts, on Apple Podcasts. So yeah, please consider subscribing. We're going to be back every week, focusing on different league. Also talking about the different leagues about all around Europe, European football, transfer gossip, the dramatic stories. So I'm ready for this roller coaster, and I hope you join me in this too. So thank you for listening. This is the match.